In a phone call last Thursday, she persuaded Trump to suspend the US's 25% tariffs on most Mexican goods. He said he did it to accommodate her. Mexico feels like it has an ace right now in its high-stakes diplomatic game with Donald Trump. A former student leader, scientist, and now Mexico's first female president, Claudia Sheinbaum. After it, both enthused about their relationship.
And I spoke to the President of Mexico, wonderful woman.
Fue una llamada muy respetuosa. Yo creo que eso
It was a very respectful call. We've always treated President Trump with respect, and in the calls, he's always treated us with respect.
Did you hear about Mexico's $604 million middle finger to Trump? While our orange friend was busy threatening tariffs and building imaginary walls, Mexico quietly shifted that cash into new trade deals with Asia and Europe. Trump's brilliant America First plan is basically shoving America into last place. Who knew that bullying our neighbors would make them find new friends? It's like trying to keep your girlfriend by threatening to date her sister. Not the smartest move, Donnie.
con cabeza fría.
Calmness and a cool head, she says, a mantra she's continually repeated. That could be a good foundation not just for now, but what might be a long roller coaster 4 years. That chemistry's a lifeline for Mexico right now, a country which depends on its neighbour and sends 80% of its exports to the US. Since Trump's return to office, Sheinbaum appears to know how to talk to him. So what's the secret?
This is where the calm and collective approach works, because ultimately Donald Trump might become the boy who cried tariff. We don't know how many times he can keep this instability going before hurting his own companies and country.
Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now back to the video. Ever notice how bullies always end up alone at lunch? That's basically Trump's trade strategy in a nutshell. Our former president recently threatened to slap a whopping 25% tariff on everything coming from Mexico and Canada. Classic Trump move. When diplomacy seems too complicated, just whip out the economic sledgehammer and start swinging.
Of course, conviviality between leaders is only one factor in high politics. Remember that Canada also had some US tariffs suspended on Thursday.
And before people simply stop believing him, calm and collective allows Claudia Sheinbaum to keep going. It's a marathon, it's not a race.
Despite the very public enmity between its leader and Trump.
This is a very dumb thing to do.
But right now, Mexico seems to feel that Claudia Sheinbaum is on the right track. These are her die-hard supporters who've come out for a rally.
But here's the plot twist nobody saw coming. Mexico didn't cower in the corner like Trump expected. Instead, President Claudia Sheinbaum looked at Trump's tariff tantrum and basically said, "Hold my cerveza." Mexico just dropped a $604 million investment bombshell that has US officials frantically calling emergency meetings. This isn't just Mexico throwing a hissy fit. They're completely rethinking their entire economic relationship with America. It's like that moment when you realize your toxic ex isn't worth the drama, and you decide to block their number and start swiping right on new prospects. Mexico is swiping right on everybody but us right now. While Trump was busy tweeting about how Mexico needs us more than we need them, Mexican officials were quietly booking flights to Europe and Asia. They're seeking new buyers for their oil, natural gas, and manufactured goods. It's the economic equivalent of your best friend suddenly hanging out with your worst enemies and posting the pictures all over Instagram.
Not just President Trump's trade demands, but his desire for zero migrants and fentanyl crossing Mexico to the US. And all the time, Sheinbaum will be grappling with weaker cards than her northern neighbour. Basically celebrating the temporary suspension of the tariffs, but in general, her approval rating's risen to 85%. There will continue to be more challenges. She'll need all the calm and cool-headedness she can muster.
Trump's fundamental misunderstanding here is truly spectacular. He thinks Mexico is some needy partner who can't survive without America's generosity. Meanwhile, US refineries are sweating bullets because they depend on Mexican crude oil from Pemex. If that supply gets disrupted, get ready for your gas prices to jump faster than Trump at the sound of a prosecutor's footsteps. American car manufacturers are already feeling the squeeze. They rely on parts made in Mexican factories, and now they're facing a brutal choice: eat the rising rising costs themselves or pass them on to consumers who are already struggling with inflation. Either way, it's a lose-lose situation that could lead to factory shutdowns and job losses across the automotive sector. The agricultural sector is also in panic mode. Mexico buys massive amounts of American farm products, and our farmers, who Trump claims to champion, could lose billions if Mexico decides to shop elsewhere. Farmers already dealing with climate change and rising production costs now have to worry about losing one of their biggest customers. Thanks, Donnie. Even the big business groups that normally love Republican policies are sounding the alarm. The National Association of Manufacturers and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce are practically begging the White House to reconsider this approach. When both the workers and the bosses are saying your plan stinks, maybe it's time to reconsider your strategy. But the truly terrifying prospect for U.S. officials is the possibility of Mexico and Canada joining forces. They're like those two friends who both dated the same toxic person and now bond over how awful you were. If they coordinate their response, they could apply serious pressure on the US economy by redirecting their exports and cutting America out of key supply chains. This is why Mexico's $604 million investment is being called a bold move by economic analysts. It's not just about the money, it's a declaration of economic independence. Mexico is essentially saying, we don't need you as much as you think we do. They're diversifying their economic relationships so they're less vulnerable to the whims of whoever happens to be sitting in the Oval Office. President Sheinbaum has made it clear she prefers diplomacy, but she's also prepared to play hardball if necessary. While smiling for the cameras and talking about cooperation, her administration is quietly preparing to impose tariffs on American agricultural goods and restrict imports if Trump follows through on his threats. It's the political equivalent of saying bless your heart while holding a knife behind your back. The bitter irony in all this? Trump's America First policy is literally achieving the opposite effect. Instead of strengthening America's position, it's pushing our neighbors into the arms of our competitors and weakening our economic influence. The bully who thought everyone would give him their lunch money is about to find himself sitting alone at the cafeteria table. So here's the biggest punchline in this whole mess. The supposed business genius who wrote The Art of the Deal is writing America right out of its own neighborhood trading bloc. The US economy that Trump claims to champion, it's actually hanging by a thread that connects directly to those terrible neighbors he loves to insult. Business leaders are practically begging the White House to stop this madness before it triggers a full-blown recession. The National Association of Manufacturers didn't mince words. These tariffs will hurt Americans way more than they'll hurt Mexico or Canada. Talk about shooting yourself in the foot, though in Trump's case, it's more like shooting the entire country in both feet while wearing his MAGA hat. When economic experts are warning about widespread job losses across multiple industries, maybe, just maybe, bullying our closest trading partners isn't the brilliant strategy Donnie thinks it is. But hey, who needs friends, allies, or a functioning economy when you've got such a beautiful, tremendous wall, right?